All right, this is the fun part. This is where you guys get to talk. So there is a microphone there. There's a microphone right here. If anybody would like to ask a question, and I assume if I'm saying this wrong, somebody's going to tell me it's wrong. But if you'd like to ask a question, just approach the microphone and we will address you and call on you. You can ask a question of any of the legislators here. I'm going to ask the first question while people get in line to speak. Representatives, we've heard of progressive income tax. J.B. Pritzker, our governor, has said that this is going to actually be helpful to the majority of Illinois taxpayers. It's just going to hurt people like him. I was reading an article on the way here from Illinois Policy Institute that says, as it's proposed right now, the progressive income tax rates that they put out there wouldn't even cover the billions of dollar deficit that we have. But to actually get to the point where we pay for the deficit and pay for the spending increases that he wants to put in place, it would be upwards of 14 to 16% income tax on the highest earners and just below 10% on anyone making under $10,000. How are you going to get the message out that this is an absolute tax increase on all Illinoisans?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's a great question. This is the big push that we're going to see. And, you know, the things that we got to realize in this state is we can't tax our way out of these problems. All right? There's no amount of money that's going to get us out of this. You know, what they don't talk about in Springfield are the significant type of reforms that would actually bring jobs and opportunities back in this state. And that's what I'm passionate about. And that's how we dig out of this hole. And, you know, I think the biggest indictment on spending in Illinois clearly has a spending problem. I think there's 7 or 8 states out there that have no income tax whatsoever. And did you know every single one of those states has lower property taxes than the state of Illinois? So that, you know, if there's any indictment on spending in Illinois is a problem, it's right there.
Yes. My question is this. There's petitions being signed by individuals to separate from Chicago the Illinois separation movement. If those petitions are successful in each county, but the opposition tries to block them in the Supreme Court, what could you do to help that vote go on?
Well, we're going to, that essentially happened once already. Governor Rounder, when he first ran, he collected enough petitions to get, I believe, term limits on the ballot, and that was dismissed. So we're not giving up. We're here because of our families. We're here because of you. We're here because of our future, and we will continue. You know, we're farmers, and you know, a couple years ago we had a terrible muddy wheat harvest, and you get up every day and you've got to go and you've got to get your work done. You know it's going to be messy, and you learn a little bit from today what you can do different tomorrow. And I can assure you that that's exactly what we're doing. That's what we're doing right now is we're learning the system, and we're doing Southern Illinois unconventional ways of going about it. And that's exactly what's going to continue to happen with us and the people that slowly come along the side of us. So we will not be dismissed. Thank you.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. There are 3 types of people. There are those who make things happen, those that watch things happen, and those that wake up and ask what happened. Will you always be the ones that make things happen? I have a small business in Lawrence County. I'm on the county board. I'm going to have to close my small business because it's a gun shop and I no longer can afford to run it because of the last bill that was passed. Please promise me you will continue to fight. Thank you.
Well, that's one thing that we do best is that we do stand up and fight. And I've had this conversation with several gun shop owners, and I have told every one of them, I said, do not shut your doors. Do not shut your doors, because if you shut your doors, then they win. And we continue to fight. We continue to do the right thing. And so don't give up. Well, they haven't done any of that yet that I'm aware of. Is that correct? well, give us a chance.
My question is, if we do something and we make them look like they're right about the Second Amendment, if we do something, then they're right. If we don't do anything, then we lose our rights. So we're all gonna die here. Every single one of us are gonna die. Every single one of us. I'm not gonna bury my weapons. I'm not gonna bury my ammunition. I guess what I'm saying is like, when's enough enough? You've taken everything you can take. You're taking my money? I mean, if I can't live free, if I don't own the land that I'm paying for, I mean, if I'm getting taxed to death, when's enough enough? And what are you going to do about it?
Thank you. I think we're definitely at that point. Enough is enough. You know, look at this crowd here. You know, we've got probably 1,500 people here. You know, I think your message is resonating, and you know, I would go back to what State's Attorney Kibler said. You know, we've got good conservative elected officials down here in Southern Illinois that do respect the Constitution. You know, and if they put forward these bills that violate the Constitution, because you know it is crazy in the legislature. It is. I mean, that was the most eye-opening thing for me when I went up there. You know, I knew that Illinois was a Democrat state. I knew that we were liberals. But when I got in there and I got in my labor committee in my first hearing, and you hear, you know, this preppy North Shore legislator up there from Chicago talking about, you know, the invisible hand of capitalism has failed people and has left people behind, and it's the government's job to come in and lift people up. I'm like, I mean, that was just really eye-opening to me. I didn't know that we were, you know, the people with influence in Springfield are basically socialists. So, but yeah, I think we can rely on our law enforcement officials here to do the right thing in that situation. That's all we can rely on, unfortunately.
I'd just like to add a little bit to that. One of the things that we need to keep in mind is keeping a right perspective, you know, because this world's not our home. We're just passing through, and the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ is what changes the hearts of men. And I think it's real important that we stand up for what we believe in, but I also think it's important that we stand up the right way and do the right thing. I think it's important that we go and that we call, that we write, and that we pray for all these issues, because in the end, God wins anyway, you know? What the young man said is true. We're all going to die. And so the most important decision that you can make is to humble yourself before an almighty God and accept Him as your personal Savior. And then heaven is your destination. And that is a promise, an ironclad promise.
Everyone knows in this room that the debt that the state of Illinois has is a problem. And if we manage to check it from the city of Chicago, they're going to be pointing the finger and saying we should keep this debt, and we're probably going to be saying you're responsible for a portion of this. How are we going to, what's the plan for this? And the other part of this question, a lot of this room is dependent on agriculture for its income, and we are the people that built the Commodity Board of Trade that's up in Chicago in this day. Is there any way we can hold their feet to the fire and saying the state of Illinois is the governing body that allowed the Board of Trade to come about in the first place? And is that something we can hold on to and make it an Illinois Board of Trade instead of Chicago Board of Trade?
Well, thank you very much. You know, your question, I think this one thing that this separation of Illinois, one of the big things that it's caused people to realize just exactly, you know, what you mentioned. The fact is, for every dollar that we pay, we do indeed receive about $2.30 back for, you know, education or government services and welfare, etc. But there's a reason for that. You have to ask why that is. Well, all you have to do is look, north of I-80, number one, and over into Indiana, number two, and you begin to realize why that is. Indiana does a wonderful job of pushing in industry and business all across the state. Illinois has failed to do that. When's the last time we received anything? And I was just down there touring Champion Labs. They make filters this past weekend. It's an awesome place, you know. And I'm going to be honest with you. Through this journey, it's opened my eyes up about buying local. You can look in my refrigerator. You're going to see Prairie Farms milk. You're not going to see Walmart. I mean this. I've always, why not save it all? Buying from your local gun store. We've got to do this stuff. So we've got to, this is getting this on the radar. It's giving us a chance to post this and say, why aren't we getting these businesses? So instead, businesses, they're drying up. So, the reality is, do we have the people to fill these places? Not necessarily, but what's it going to take? When are we going to start? We've got to emulate the economy that Indiana has to push business across the state. Regarding your comment about agriculture, are you aware that the 109th district, from here to Carmine to the river, we produce half of the oil that the state of Illinois produces? Many people don't realize that. The coal mines, right there is agriculture, coal, and oil. That'd be a really nice place to start. But we sat here and listened last week about an initiative to be 100% green in 2030. These people, it's nonsense. They don't understand. We are hopefully bringing some of that understanding to the forefront. What you talked about, the Board of Trade and stuff, that's, the Board of Trade does more than that's global. I'm a farmer, that sets the price. That's where agriculture goes through. So, like Chris said, to put things in perspective, we've got a journey here. We're hoping and praying that while we tread down this path of a possible separation, that maybe somebody will wake up in this next election cycle or the election cycle after that. So thank you.
I'm just curious, with all the taxes that are being proposed, being raised this, raised that, every bar, restaurant, gas station, anywhere you go, you walk in, there's video poker machines. The state's getting a third of that. Where's that going?
That's a really good question. I'm not on the appropriations, so I don't know exactly where it's going, but I can take a big guess. When you look at our budget, I think a quarter of it goes to pensions, and then probably another quarter of it goes to Medicaid. So it's probably going to one of those places, but it's certainly not going to our local schools because our property taxes are unfortunately paying for most of that. But that just goes back to the thing. They want to put all these taxes, all these regulations on all these things, thinking that that's going to solve the problem. But it doesn't. It never has, and it never will until we get serious about really digging in on these issues and solving these big problems with pensions and units of government and things of that nature. We're never going to be able to get out from under this kind of stuff. So that's what we're fighting for. That's what I was passionate about that coming into this race. I come from I'm a small business owner and a farmer by trade too. And the state government should have to manage their budgets like we do, and we can't keep going back to the well on all these gimmicky one-time deals. That was another thing that was very disappointing in the governor's budget address. It relies completely on this type of stuff, and future tax increases, and that's just not the way to go. And
there's a lot of money that goes into them poker machines. I know.
There is no doubt about it. It's a poor man's tax. There's no doubt about that, and it's certainly not going to fix the state of Illinois.
I just never did hear where it went.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Darren, I talked with you earlier, and I've been in an elected position over 30 years, and I was responsible for budgets and levies. And I could never, as an elected official, pass a budget that wasn't balanced. I guess my question to you guys is it possible, okay, we're signing petitions for separation of state, can we start a petition for they don't get a pension if they don't pass a balanced budget?
That's actually, that is the pension, there are multiple laws that we don't
I'm
get
talking
paid.
elected officials.
Yeah.
I feel like we just got guys up there that don't care.
No,
So
that
is
a
it
fair
possible,
statement.
as we the people, can we keep them from getting a pension if they can't be responsible to us? I'm not getting a pension. And I've always had a balanced budget.
I understand, and
So-
that's something, there's a lot of laws on the books currently, unfortunately, as you well know, that idea, that's something, that we talk about it, we propose it, and
Right.
we do it.
See,
For it
I
to
was
actually fall into effect, no, right now, that can't happen. But that's,
I understand their position is you can, not elect them again. In Chicago, that's impossible.
Right.
They keep getting elected.
unless we do our job of
Right.
educating the
Most people's
state.
getting involved,
Yeah.
which is great.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Prior to asking my question, I need to know if there's any sheriffs or state police commanders. Do we know if any of them are in attendance today?
Anyone from the state police or sheriff's departments or city police departments out there today? All right.
What county are you from?
Crawford and Coles.
Okay.
Wayne.
Going back to what you guys said and what the state's attorney said from Effingham County, with all due respect to your positions, you're not on the front lines. You're not the ones that are going to be going door to door with these gun confiscation ideas.
Well, I beg your pardon because I am on the front line, and I'm going to tell you something. You have my word that when someone shows up on my front door and expects me to turn in a gun or even so much as register a serial number, it will not happen.
Specific to Effingham County, let's say, even though I'm not from Effingham County, I'm from Cumberland, specific to Effingham and with the District 17 state police, surrounding counties, what is their position on that? Are they going to be in our defense, or are they going to be on the side of legislation that's passed to confiscate?
Sheriff's departments that we've talked with, and yeah, that's what we're here.
I'd like to address the issue of a bad bill, and all of the components that make up that bill makes the 3% on your educators. You capped all of Southern Illinois educators, but Chicago, they did not get capped. I'd like to know if you guys will repeal it on the basis of all of the stuff that's in the bill that harm our students, that harm our educators in your district.
Yeah, I'll answer that. I'm on the pensions committee, and basically, as a little background, one of the biggest problems with our pension system is that towards the end of people's careers, they get up until 2005, they could get up to 20% spikes per year for the last 4 years, which inflates the pension problem big time. Okay, so then, and I think somewhere around sometimes.
State or Southern Illinois educators, or are you talking about Chicago?
I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about everybody.
Not
all
our
right?
district.
But in I think 2010 they lowered that to 6%, and then just last year, as part of the budget process, we capped that at 3%. And yes, Chicago public schools aren't in TRS, and it is a problem. Chicago got bailed out in this last education funding formula. We're paying for their pensions, and that is a problem. We didn't create their problem, but we did. But the bottom line is our pension system is completely out of control, and capping it at 3% was a reasonable solution to what we got. I mean, you shouldn't be retiring with more money than what you made while you were working. That's a reasonable policy. It's one of the only things that we got in our favor in the last budget, and it just really makes me mad that the only things that we got. We negotiated this with Democrats and Republicans supporting it, and then 1 year later, the Democrats take control, and then they want to come and take it back. It's not the right thing to do. And you know, there's a lot of misinformation about the 3% cap. Believe me, I'm on the pensions committee. We've already heard it. I voted to repeal it, or I voted to continue with what we agreed upon last year. And I've got a lot of feedback, and I appreciate that. But you know, I'm trying to educate people on this issue too, because it's complicated. It's hard to explain in a forum like this. But I would be more than happy to sit down and talk to you about it. But it's the 3%, the cap is a step in the right direction. Anywhere where we can cap spending in the state of Illinois right now, we need to be doing it, especially if it's reasonable like that one is.
Thank you to all of you for bringing this together. We really appreciate it. Mr. Bailey, I had some conversations with you earlier in regards to getting police agency heads on record and law enforcement officials on record in the state of Illinois as to how they would enforce these laws if they in fact became laws, keeping in mind the oath that they took to uphold and defend the Constitution. The two are in contradiction. They can't be. And I can't think of a better person to follow than the young man who was ahead of me. And I can assure him that the law enforcement community as a whole, the rank and file officers, they will uphold their oath, the Constitution. We will not enforce unconstitutional laws. I'm a retired police officer. And here's what I'm asking the three of you to do, is to concentrate like some of the other speakers were talking about, talking to law enforcement agency heads, getting them on record. They have to be on record with this. The problem that we have in this state, in this country, is that you have people that look at the Constitution and they say, I don't see an individual right to own a firearm, possess a firearm, but it's clearly there. It's not rocket science, it's plain English. Those same people look at the Constitution and say, but oh yes, I see a constitutional right to murder babies. That's our problem.
Well, I can't speak for all the counties, but I know that I've had conversations with several of the guys that are the heads of the police departments in Crawford and Clark County. And I know they have both assured me that if this comes down, that they aren't going to go and try to confiscate anybody's firearm. Right. And I can't believe that won't be the same way in Coles County, in Edgar, in Cumberland, and the different counties that are in my district anyway. I can't see any of those guys. I know them, and I have a hard time believing that they're going to show up and knock on your door and say, give me your firearms.
They have.
Thank you.
Will they actively oppose? Sorry, will they actively oppose the legislation before it becomes law?
Well, I hope that they will, and I think that we need to have that conversation with them, and for them to to join us in opposition to these.
That's what I'm asking. Hope is not a plan.
This question is for all three of you. So in my opinion, I view the Chicago-Illinois relationship somewhat like an abusive marriage. And I don't really think that it's a great idea to stay with somebody just because they pay for your way. So here's my question. The Illinois separation, wanting to fix things and stop the bleeding, and do something about the pension and all the problems, will cost some money. But which will cost more money? The Illinois separation or JB and Madigan's new plans for however long we may have it?
That I don't have an answer for on the dollars. We are currently, that is something I think through this separation issue that we are trying to figure out what the true tax burden, what the dollars, but above and beyond everything else, there is a constitutional way to go about this, and we have to, as we educate ourselves, we still have to follow this constitutional, way of dividing, if that so becomes possible.
Could we use their unconstitutional actions to bypass the state legislature and go straight to the feds?
No. Our U.S. Brad read Brad read that to you. It requires 2/3 vote, both state and both houses and in.
What I'm saying is if the Illinois legislature is breaking the law, as they are doing, not yourselves included, but with your unbalanced budget, with the infringements ever since the 1960s with the FOID, that has actually been implemented upon the people of Illinois, although it was unconstitutional and an infringement of the oath. So I guess my question is, how can we allow somebody to break the law who is in charge of us visibly amongst us, and then have to go to those people and ask for separation?
We saw a civil war several years ago. I hope it doesn't come to that, but that's there are laws. Our founding fathers did put stop checks in place, and we believe that we need to follow those, but at such a point that the people, our goal is to educate Illinois, educate the people in Chicago, so that they hopefully will realize that they need to elect different leaders, because they're paying high taxes. But thank you.
Thank you.
My question generally pertains to the operation in Springfield of when you're working with the other side of the aisle, and what really is the likelihood. I kind of always use the term reason and logic. I can deal with one or the other, but not generally not either. So in dealing with the other legislators in Springfield, what's your feel, what's your vibe on, are we going to get some legislation, pushed north from the south, or is it all just going to continue to come downhill?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think most of it in our current situation is gonna come down, but it's important to point out that there's a lot of these. The reason that they have a supermajority in the legislature right now is because they completely turned over the suburbs of Chicago. DuPage, Will County, all of those seats, they turned from Republican to Democrat. So there is, at some point there's going to be some local pushback on some of these things, especially fiscally for those legislators up there. And the governor spent a tremendous amount of political capital to push through this minimum wage bill so quickly. So that's going to make it a little bit more difficult for him on the progressive income tax, for an example, because the threshold is obviously much higher on that one as a constitutional amendment. So, that's the hope right there, that for the next 2 years we can kind of get some of these suburban legislators, to kind of provide a little bit of pushback on the Chicago legislature up there. That's I think what we got to focus on. And when you see these fiscal bills and stuff coming, there's nothing wrong with looking up those ones and giving them a call. But ultimately, in 2 years and over the next 4 years, the Republican Party's got to put together a plan and a compelling message to win those districts back. Because there's no way forward. We should have every district in Southern Illinois. There's 2 or 3 of them out there right now that we don't have that we could have. So that's got to be step number 1. But then we gotta put forward a compelling message that would compel somebody to vote for a Republican. We haven't done a great job of that as a party, especially over the last 4 years. Mike Madigan sucks is not a message. Although it's true, and I think that most of us probably know that, but it's not going to give those people that are on the fence a reason to vote for us, and without getting those people, we're not going to be able to turn things around ultimately. So there is some hope there that he spent so much capital there that we will get some pushback.
Thank you. I'm told we have time for one more question, but that they will be available. You are now. Out in the lobby afterwards, so please use this time to ask these questions. Sir, we'll take your question last.
Yeah, my question is, in the scenario the 51st state bill was to pass, what happens to, do we inherit the already existing laws, or are we starting from scratch? Do we write all new laws, or how does that process work? And maybe we might want a different governor?
Can I answer that one?
Chris is going to run for governor of Southern Illinois.
I think we're in uncharted territory, and And I firmly believe, and maybe I was excited about what I heard the Representative Halbrook talk about today, but we're in uncharted territory, and this isn't going to happen overnight. This is a process. Look how many years it took to establish, this country, and that came with a fight. So we don't know, but I do want you to know there is hope. I've kind of, my message has been, I believe things are going to get better, but I think they're going to get worse first. But so to answer the gentleman here, I believe Chicago is taking notice. What are they going to do with that? I don't know. But I think I expressed that just earlier when I first spoke. There are some breakthroughs. There are people coming to us that wouldn't give us the time of day because they don't have to. They're asking questions. They're asking, what's going on, and they don't even have to acknowledge that we're even alive. And two of the people I've got some people I told you. Now, two of the people are ones that sponsored two of these really nasty pieces of legislation that we talked about today. So I'm thrilled. The curiosity's up. I guess I don't know if it's out of ignorance, meaning ignorance is the fact that you don't know, and I believe that's a lot of it. They have no idea of our way of life. It's up to us, and it's up to you to help them understand that. And if that falls through, all the while we're working on this, and we'll be ready whenever it comes. But I don't think there is an answer right now to your question because that's uncharted territory. But we're Americans, we're Illinoisans, we're Southern Illinoisans. We work hard, we believe in God, and we're going to, we just keep marching along. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Thank you for the questions.
And I think it's also important to note that when we do raise our voices in indignation at some of this stuff, it does make a difference. I mean, we've seen that. We've seen that with the homeschooling bill that came through. Basically there was a bill that said if anybody had the audacity to not send their kids to a private school but wanted to homeschool them, the DCFS was going to show up in their house 2 times a year to inspect them. There was a lot of pushback. They got a lot of feedback on that, and they ended up tabling the bill. And there was a couple more out there. The mileage tax is one of them. So and the abortion bills, these 2 bad abortion bills, they were supposed to be heard in committee last week, and they weren't. I don't know what that means. Any day any time we push that off, it's good. But I think that's due to public pressure, and that's important. That's what we've got right now. That's all we've got right now, so we better utilize it.
I think another thing too, in a new Illinois, it's not going to be business as usual. We are not going to follow the blue model of governing where it's taxing, borrowing, and spending. We aren't going to be promoting envy, greed, and ungratefulness. And so the whole template, the whole paradigm will change under a new Illinois if, by God's grace, that would ever come about.
Well, thank you very much to State Representatives Blaine Willauer, Chris Miller, and Darren Bailey. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with you, and it is our duty to ask these questions, and your duty to have answers for us or to find answers for us. So if you have questions that you would like to continue to ask, please see them in the lobby afterwards. I want to bring attention to a couple of sheets of paper. This is one that you may have gotten when you came in. It's 2-sided. These important bills, the Reproductive Health Act, extreme abortion, parent notice abortion, repealing that, the LGBT history taught in schools, legalizing marijuana, and the assault weapons ban. Here's some contact information on representatives that aren't here tonight, who aren't here advocating for the way you believe this should be. These are the people who need to be contacted. My representative is Katie Stewart. It's a very purple district. I'm ashamed that she is a co-sponsor of the abortion bill. I have called her, and I will call her again and again and again until she pulls that sponsorship away. Your voice needs to be heard. Do it every day until these people pull their sponsorships from these bills. They need to know your first and last name. We know their first and last name. The second piece of paper is this one that you might have seen out there. If you are interested in riding the bus being provided by Restore Illinois on March 20th to the Pro-Life Rally and Lobby Day, which is a Wednesday, and on Wednesday, March 27th to the Illinois Gun Owner Lobby Day, You must sign up today and get your $25 fee in to help cover the cost for this to reserve your spot, because there are going to be a lot of people who want to do this. And if you want to reserve your spot, please make sure you do that before you leave today. Finally, we're going to welcome Levi Slater up to the stage. And Levi is somebody who has a lot of enthusiasm, from what I've been told. There's a general consensus on that. He's the owner of Accuracy Firearms in Effingham, and we're going to get to hear his passion and enthusiasm right now. Levi, thank you.
I don't like being behind a podium. As she said, I'm Levi Slater. I'm one of the owners of Accuracy Firearms here in Effingham, Illinois. I didn't write out a big bio about myself. I thought I'd let you know. I'm 37. I'm an Aquarius. I enjoy long walks on the beach. I enjoy the sound of rifle casings hitting on a concrete floor. I love the smell of gunpowder in the morning with my Black Rifle Coffee Company. I'm a card-carrying NRA member. I carry a gun every day. I'm a combat veteran, and I'm mad as hell. That's who I am. You know, it was great that we had this and we talked. Dave opened it up with the sanctuary counties, and I want to just talk to you a little bit about what you can do. There's 1,300 people here today. And if we all leave and we do nothing, then this day was a waste.
Right.
It was a waste. There's 1,300 people here that need to go out, and you need to find other people. And you have to have those awkward conversations. All right? We all know what those are. It's with my camping buddy from Clay County, who's an elected official for a township, one of our small bodies of government. And we sat over a bottle of whiskey one night, and we'd been camping several times, and then I come to realize he was a Democrat. After I finished my drink of wild turkey, I looked at my wife, Nikki, who's in the audience today, and I said, we need new camping friends. I can't do this anymore, right? But along the way, I just kept hammering at him and hammering at him and hammering at him, and he said, oh no, that's not what the Democratic Party is. So I just took out the platform for the Democratic Party. Now this guy works in the oil industry. And I went right down through it, I'm like, oh look, they're all about green energy. I like green energy too, but they really don't like the oil business. What are you doing? He said, oh, that's not there. So I pull it out, I show it to him. I said, you're pro-life. Yes. You're pro-gun. Yes. Do you want a big government or a small government? Small government? Things are looking bad for you. I said, you're not a Democrat, you're a Republican. Right? These are the awkward conversations you have to have every day. It's not once in a while. My wife gets tired of me talking politics. All right? You know what happens when you sit back and you say, somebody else will fight it for me? You can play defense all day. You know what defense is? Defense is joining the NRA, joining the ISRA, those types of things. They go out, it says it in their oath that they're going to help you defend your rights. That's great. Play defense all you want. Defense doesn't win ball games. Offense wins ball games. We have to put more points up on the board. We have to get more people involved. And every day you have to walk that. And you have to go find people. You have to recruit them to your organization. If your neighbor's a Democrat, change his mind between now and the next election. That is the way we win these battles. And if you sit back and you wait, all right, you're going to get the Illinois gun licensing bill that's going to drive my friend here out of business. I know that law is going to cost me tens of thousands of dollars. I have to install new cameras. I have to go get more feeds so that I can record for longer than 20 days. We all sat back and we said, it'll never happen. And then what happened? We woke up one day and they're chipping at our freedoms. And if you don't think that that bill is a chip on your freedom, I call bullcrap. 64 FFLs have already turned in their license. They said, we're out of the gun business. That's exactly what they want. They want to make it hard for you to go buy a gun. If all of those small dealers close down, you're going to be stuck buying guns at Gander Mountain, Rural King, and your big box stores. Oh, by the way, your big box stores are exempt from that law. They don't care about your business anyways. Guys, we're at a pinnacle here. There is no more sitting and waiting. We've got great elected representatives here behind us today, and they're out there fighting the fight, but they're only 3 individuals. They need more people behind them. 1,300 people isn't going to cut it. But if you all make a promise today, when you hit that parking lot and you get mad and you drive home, you say, you know what, tomorrow's a new day and I'm going to bring 5 people to the table with me. It's going to be uncomfortable. You may not win them all, but every day that you try to find somebody and bring them to the right side of the aisle is a day that you're going to secure your freedoms. And that's what we have to do. So I hope today when you leave here, that you go out, you find somebody else, it may be your mother-in-law. All right? If she's a Democrat, get her on the right side of the aisle. It's the right side. The Democratic Party has left. They've left. Talked to a good friend here. He's in the audience today, and he said, I voted for Obama. I gave him a hug and said, it's okay. I'm mad at you. Your gun prices are going to go up, but it's okay. You're here today, and that's what matters. All right? Find those people. Bring them to our side of the aisle. Do what you can to preserve freedom. One bill at a time. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.